Aye.
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 Ayes have it. Need approval of the regular meeting minutes from August the 10th.
So move.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'd like to take this time to recognize the employee years of service. And with that being said, I'd like to recognize Casey Waters for serving 10 years with Augusta Richmond County Tax Assessor's Office. Also, our own Alvino Ross, congratulations and thank you, Mr. Ross, for your 10 years of service. Nieta Coleman for her 10 years of service. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do. Ms. Hernando Gresham, serving 5 years with the Tax Assessor's Office, and Whitley Key, 5 years of service. So if you would let them know that we appreciate all the hard work that they've done and what they are continuing to do, and tell them we'd like to say thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. We shall do.
Next is the board's committee report. I'm sorry. First of all, let me recognize, I'm sorry, my apologies. Next is the board's committee report, Specialized Assessments and Obsolescence Committee. Mr. Simpkins, is he on?
Yes, I'm in the meeting now. I had the wrong password.
Okay.
We did have a meeting today, as you know, at 2 o'clock, and there were a number of things that Mr. Roundtree and Ms. W reported on, and they approved. There were 2 for approval from one from Good Shepherd Church of that property they have, and then another one on Green Street. Ms. W had some information about Martin Marietta and Technology and Meridian Brick. If she doesn't mind, she can bring the board up to date. All of these were recommended, and the board, the Specialized Assessment, voted to uphold the staff's recommendation of approval. And if you, the explanation from Mr. Roundtree, Mr. W, if that's appropriate this time, please let them speak.
Mr. Chairman, if you will allow, we will include that in the staff reports. But we will so note that the committee did adopt all staff recommendations.
Okay, that's great. That's fine.
Okay, thank you for that. Personnel Review Committee, Chairman O'Neill.
Okay, Madam Chairman, we did not have an official meeting this month, but we like to just give the board a I'd like to give the board a few updates regarding personnel in the TAO. One would be
I'm in a Zoom meeting right now. Let me call you back.
we'd like to welcome Jonathan Clark as our new project analyst. His hire date was September 5th, and his first day of orientation was on September 8th. So we'd like to welcome, the board extend a warm welcome to Mr. Clark. And by the way, he is on our Zoom meeting, so hopefully we can get a shot of Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, are you there?
He's there.
Okay, well, welcome again. Also, we had a candidate selection sent to HR Augusta, and this candidate is Mr. Marvin Sims, who will seeking the position of personnel property auditor. The status is still pending in HR, and of course, his start date will be announced later as soon as the processing is complete. Also, we received a retirement resignation letter from Miss Jeannie Anderson, who served as a tax appraisal clerk and has served in the TAO for 39 wonderful, brilliant years. And we'd like to thank her for her service and wish her the very best as she enters into this wonderful world of retirement. Also, we have HR Augusta job posting. It has been up for 1 week for the tax appraisal clerk position. And it has been decided that the 2 top candidates will be selected for those positions. So that is the current update, Madam Chairman, and that completes our report.
Thank you for your report, Mr. O'Neill.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
Juanita Burney. Before you move on from personnel, I would just like to say that I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Scott Roundtree and to the new employee, Jonathan Clark. My old laptop died. I had to get a new one, and they were instrumental in helping me to get the new one up to speed for our meeting today. I'd like to welcome again Mr. Clark, thank both of them, and he seems to be very capable, and I hope he will enjoy his tenure with the office.
Well done. Any more
Thank
statements
you.
or comments?
Thank you, Ms. Burney. We like to think that the process allows us to pick, as we say, we hire smart people so they can tell us what to do, versus people that we have to tell what to do over and over and over.
Well, I think well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you, Mr. Clark.
Okay, moving on. Today, the board's main focus is to take action on appeal matters and receive the office operational update. The deadline for filing appeals this year ended with the state extension until August the 29th. So at this time, we will start receiving staff recommendations from the business and personal property, Ms. Wooja,
Good
and
afternoon.
any audit from Ms. Funk.
Thank you. Good afternoon. A lot of our work this month comes from field reviews on unreturned new businesses. You'll see a lot of new accounts, and then some accounts where we had to go in and actually change the value based on newly submitted returns. As far as ownership and homesteads, we're adding back some homesteads that were dropped. Sometimes the mailing address came back and said it was incorrect, but we actually talked to the owner and they're living there and never moved. So we're adding some of those homestead back. And if anybody has any questions about any of the accounts, just let me know. I'll be glad to help you.
I do have one,
Okay.
page 3. I think company's Covia. And I just couldn't figure out, there's a difference there, 1,200,000, then 2,842,000. So that's over $1 million difference. Exactly what was happening there.
It could be that the appellant did not report everything, or they have an asserted value that's much lower than the actual value that they returned or actually should be on the account. We're seeing a lot of that now on appeals because if we don't act within our timely number of days, they get the asserted value. So we are seeing those asserted values being reported low.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any further questions?
Henry Middleton? Yes, ma'am. On the business returns, personal property, Pollock Capital, and it showed valuation adjustment split city and county locations. Is that where they have property here in Columbia County?
That is a leasing company. And so we have to split city county codes. And so it could be that we had to have more in the city that they reported.
But he'll be there tomorrow.
So that's what we have to do, is just validate whether they're in what tax district, and if they've also reported something from another county, we have to remove that.
Okay. Okay.
Any further questions? Uh-oh, something happened. Mr. Font? Okay. Thank
Yes,
you, Mr.
ma'am. Auditors at this time are working with personal property to complete that new business process that Ms. Terry was speaking of. They are also working diligently to process the appeals that were filed. As the board knows, the personal property notices went out later than the real estate, therefore their appeals process started a little bit later. So they are diligently working on those items at this time.
Okay. Any questions, anyone? Okay, thank you, Mr. Font and Ms. Wujas, on your recommendations for the personal property. Moving on to residential, Ms. Greer.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. We just had a few appeals. I think we had 5 or 6 appeals to come through, and we had a few value changes on the error of facts, working hand in hand with code enforcement, and a few other issues with some Senate bills. And that's all we have before you today.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone?
Fine.
No questions. We're moving on to commercial auditors, Mr. Font.
Yes, ma'am. So the commercial team at this time is trying to finish up appeals. The bulk of what you'll see today are appeals that they've either changed or no value change, but they are hearing officer appeals. We have a 90-day time frame in which we have to respond to hearing officer appeals from the date they're filed. That means we had to get them to this meeting. Otherwise, the appellants would receive the asserted value they put on the appeal forms. I'm pleased to say that the commercial team has accomplished that goal, and that all hearing officer appeals are before you today for action.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions, anyone? If no questions, we're moving on to Mr. Roundtree.
Good afternoon. So we've got just a handful of items today. The first specialized assessment item is on the, I guess, under the project center, pages 1 of 3. This is really a recognition of a conservation use property that can now be released from its covenant. This particular property has shown up on prior board meetings, and we've already gone through the mandated breach process, and the property owners paid the penalty that they were due. And so now we're recommending that we release that covenant since we have received that penalty amount. The couple of appeals that we have to address, actually 3 appeals. One is a denial, and subsequently that denial has been withdrawn, but I wanted to bring it to the board for affirmation of that withdrawal. The appellant was attempting to get a exemption based on its private enterprise agreement with the housing authority to provide public housing. And in fact, that type of agreement did not exist. So we denied the appeal. And I've got 2 approvals recommended here. Essentially is one property owner under 2 different names. One is Parsons Clarkson and Weed LLC and Millage 933 LLC. Both of these entities are pass-through LLCs owned by Church of the Good Shepherd, and receive tax-free basis through the IRS. The King Avenue is an extension of their Flowing Wells outdoor campus and recreation facility. So it's primarily used for outdoor education and recreation. The Millage property is to the rear of Church of the Good Shepherd and the Episcopal Day School on Walton Way. And it is a mixture of uses from a workshop for a maintenance person with the church, and also outdoor education and trails at the back of this property that are used by the day school. There are 3 residential houses on the property that are currently not used as residences nor as income received at the property. And both of these I'm recommending approval of the tax exempt status. And then let's see, a historic rehab that we had to the board today is at 401 Green Street. And this is a recognition of our receipt of their preliminary certification for historic rehab, where they begin the 2-year period of rehabilitation. And that is a old grocery store, I think, that's being converted into apartments. And so now with this application, we'll begin the monitoring process of this historic project. And those are all of our recommendations today. Are there any questions?
Any questions, anybody?
All right.
Hearing none. Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion for adopting staff recommendations from the Business and Personal Property Specialized Assessment and the Commercial and Residential Division.
So moved.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. Chief Appraiser Report, Mr. Ross.
Good afternoon, board members. Hopefully you are seeing a shared screen. I'm gonna attempt to step in and manage that today myself.
You have to share your screen again.
I have to share it again. Madam Vice Chair and board members, I'm going to kind of rotate through some of this real fast. As you can see, there's a lot of updates to give to the board today. However, please do not hesitate to stop and intervene at any point in time if you desire further clarity. At the top of the list, we like to keep you abreast. Am I showing? Does everyone see the COVID-19 notice posting?
Yes.
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 Very well. We moved quickly to try to maintain these matters regarding the challenge of COVID-19. We just want to follow up and let you know that the approved wording for posting to websites and all that has occurred. And we have it posted on site here in the office as well. Just a notation that we are continuing to move in spite of Department of Revenue limitations in certification exams. We still have sectors of training and development that are occurring outside of DOR. And here is just simply a commercial link that will be dealing with the benefits as we move forward on deferred income valuations on the commercial property side. Mr. Funk, I believe that's scheduled for, I don't recall the date, but it's in the very near future that we'll be holding that on behalf of the commercial department.
Yes, sir. We have the registration and we can go in and do that probably next week when all people are available to attend.
Thank you, sir. This is a notation on ongoing issues about virtual classes. I know board members are concerned that without caveat, their certification level, will we have the same concerns and challenges regarding staff at this point in time, those who are in need of 40 hours of coursework, that they may maintain their certification for the year. We will also keep you abreast of that. This is to give you a highlight that the Department of Revenue Commissioner has signed off on a petition to try to reestablish the Georgia Certified Assessors designation, making it available. That should be a tremendous benefit, particularly for the young and talented that are now coming into the business as they move forward in certification positions. With the shifting that's going on with Melanie's departure last month, this is just a notice that we've given to one of our major property owners, whom would be officially the contact person for their annual review. I'm going to skip past some of this. This is the notice that was given earlier regarding Ms. Anderson and her service here of 39 years. I believe her official date was October the 5th, 1981. We've greeted Mr. Clark, and we referenced the hiring of the next auditor who is in process with HR. I mentioned about your website issues. This is just a follow-up from staff personnel letting us know that all those matters have been posted to the website. The next information comes from this is a reference on the digest submission. We spoke about the deferral with the extension out to August 27th. We immediately got submitted on the 28th an updated value and dispute document that required the 3 signatures, superintendent, officer of the mayor, and chairman of the board, and submitted. And then that is the order that was received on the 28th to the tax commissioner, finding the digest to be proper and in order. These are called conditional approvals, and along with that came the actual order to bill and collect. I suspect that this time each of my board members have their tax bills.
Of course.
I was going to say, no one found any humor in that.
Who likes to pay out their money, Mr. Ross?
As one gentleman came through the building this week, and he was gracious enough to let me walk in front of him into the door. He said he was in no hurry, that he felt better with the money in his pocket. Because of the digest submissions, we have to turn over to the probate court a listing of return mail. This year, personal property, we had 50 pieces of return mail, and for real estate, we had 2,993 pieces of mail returned. This is the official file that should someone come forward and say they did not receive their assessment notice, this is the first place we go to. And if they are not on it, it is deemed delivered. Just a quick update on fuel usage. Obviously, in April, we had no usage this year. We are starting to pick back up, as you can see in August, as we go into 2021 work. By comparison, August, we at 47.55%. This time last year, we were at 50.60%. We believe that we're still managing many more reviews without the requirement of additional gasoline costs. Most people are familiar with what's going on with the census. So we've been asked by the mayor to chime in, thanks to Project Central. Mr. Scott, we put the numbers together on the type of structures to give them some projections as to those number of units with some analysis of vacancy using the apartment reval numbers to project out possible livable units, and based on factors of the agency itself, a population impact average of 2.66 persons per unit, projecting out just north of 210,000 people. We've been in meetings again this morning with the mayor, with IT and GIS on efforts to give them additional information that's scheduled by 4 o'clock tomorrow. I believe he indicated that there were 16 remaining days for the count. So if you know of anyone to encourage, please do so. That these matters go far beyond just counting people. It deals with a lot of budgetary dollars that will come in from the federal government. Just a quick update. We have now submitted to procurement to start the cell tower project. We anticipate that vendors, in which we provide 3 that we are aware of doing business in Georgia, that this information will get initiated this week. And we hope within the next 2 to 3 weeks that we will have bids for the cell towers project to start before the end of the year and to be completed in digest year 2021. We've also worked up and finalized the matters of the contract for your next flight. That flight is scheduled to start late 20. Even though it got clauses in there, should there be deferrals that would push it into 21. However, she's going to be paid for through capital funds for 20, 21, and 22. As of this morning, we are getting notations from IT Augusta that they anticipate that the legal department will finalize the contract presented, and hopefully by next week we will have this matter before the commissioners for approval. Just a little flashback. Back toward the end of the month of August, the presentation, this is the white paper on a modern approach to assessment appeals that was presented at the International Association of Assessing Officials for their first virtual conference. I won't be redundant to talk about it. We've shared some of this information, and we've also sent the board the actual links that takes you to the actual presentation itself. I believe it's approximately 45 minutes in its totality. If you haven't had a chance to go out there and look at it, maybe you will in the coming days. We got notice on Friday, and we started the process today of getting 15 laptops up and running. By this time, I think all the people designated for laptops, which would give them the capacity as if they're working from their desk, for those individuals to be upgraded. And then on Thursday, We will modify assignment of some iPads that was previously held by those individuals to go to field staff. And those will be retrofitted for them. Once that's done on Thursday, we will be in a full virtual staff equipped position with 23 iPads and 15 laptops with a total of 38 mobile devices as we speak. That was references to appeals. Initially, we had 620. However, because of the extension, we jumped another 14 appeals. Just want to point out this, I'll send out an update to the committee again. The commercial is at 85.86%. Specialized assessment is complete. Homestead applications are complete, pending 5 cases out at the BOE. Residential is 100% complete, with still 92 cases pending over at the Board of Equalization as well. The overall position is 93% complete. The 42 active appeals are all commercial. Of the 197 Board of Equalization, 100 is commercial accounts, 92 are residential accounts, and 5 are the homestead accounts. This is staff notification regarding a roll-up of your file system from a 2020 position to the current year of 2021. And we re-emphasize to staff this over and over because of the impact it has on entry of what year that you're working in. We're still working in some 19 appeals. We also have started doing 2021 discovery. This is just a markup getting started. Last year we got started in early October, so we're in good shape recovering and getting started with some work in September. To date, 6% of the total projection to work permits as well as neighborhood recovery, neighborhood reval review. We're just a little over 6% with 1448 done to date. Of that 1448, 927 have already been QC'd up into the data cloud evaluation component to load back up the WinGap. So the other 1448, 64% of that work has already been QC'd. We're finding most interesting to see where we are by the time we move toward the holidays. That's generally the first benchmark on the upcoming digest year. Back on the 10th of last week, we presented the Board of Assessors budget, which was a flat budget of the board as well as a flat budget of this of the TAO. That top graph gives you an idea of the movement of the TAO budget. And one of the things that we pointed out in the presentation is that through year 2011 through 2019, the net return to the general fund is north of $560,000, or equivalence of 2.78% of allocated budgets over that time frame. We were very pleased with that. One of the other factors that we pointed out, and I apologize, I don't have it up at the moment. Maybe I can go out there and get it. We showed that the operational side of the budget One of the things that we pointed out at the budget presentation is that's a flow chart of your operational budget for the tax assessor's office, going all the way back to 2009. At that time it was $333,623. That included in 2013 a notation that $130,000 was to finance DOR certification, which they never funded, and it had money in there for a cell tower audit that did not occur, and we could not get a rollover. So if you took $130,000 from that amount there, it would put that point about right here. And so minus that false indicator, what we're showing is that the values have fallen off, and today we're operating at the same amount as last year. And here we are 12 years later, and we're operating greater than $22,000 less than what it was in 2009, or almost 7% less through this technology development. We got a footnote there. We were carrying auto allowance on the operational side, only to find out they are carrying it on the benefit side. And when we deducted the auto allowance from that 311, it matched the 221 operational budget. So we're actually 303 the way they account for it. We've gotten some positive feedback on the presentation. Right now, it's kind of like we've been in the Christmas parade budget. Now we got to wait for Santa Claus, who are the commissioners who will then act upon the bigger budget, hopefully sometime in November. And then we'll find out whether or not we maintain what we're requested or not. Madam Vice Chair and board members, that covers office operations and updates at this point in time. And I'll be more than glad to try to clarify anything you have questions on.
Are there any
I
questions?
just have one.
Yes,
Mr. Ross, the list of return tax notices.
Return mail?
Return mail, since it's so extensive. Are there other actions being taken, or we just wait to see if?
Actually, Ms. Barney, we have Nancy, do you know why I'm hiding your last return mail report?
I mean, I know people move a lot and addresses are a problem. It's just such a large list. I'm just.
There you go.
There's the movement of your historical, Ms. Barney. My charge has been we should be no more than 2%. There are those who say that the national average is 5%. We have been working very diligently trying to address this matter when it got on my radar screen back in late 13, and we started tracking everything in 14. We moved to some scanning issues to help us. Project Central has coded some issues that I believe played a part in this drop you see of this current year. We dropped over 9%, which is a decent move. At the end of the day, we're doing our best to marginalize return mail. But I lost my own insurance coverage because of a piece of mail torn up, came back to me 4 or 5 months later. We're hoping that we can put further dent into this as we go into next year. We're working with the vendor of a mailing vendor very closely on these matters as well.
Well, trust me, I'm not pointing a finger. I understand that it is very difficult. It is very difficult. So but I was just kind of curious as to what our next step would be.
We've even tried to meet with the U.S. Postal Service. We've had meetings a few years ago on master address issues. Scott, you want to chime in on any part of this return mail matter?
Sure. So I guess one of the big things that we've started this year is when you get a return mail piece from the post office, there is a specific or a vague reason on there on a USPS label that tells you why that mail was returned. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but a good chunk of those return mails are in a kind of catch-all category that in the end tells us we don't know why it is returned. But the categories of return mail that we do have the opportunity to address, such as the forwarding time has expired, or some other issue like there's no receptacle at this, or it's a vacant property. We're trying to manage as a group by each category and seeing if we can find a better mailing address on there. I know our residential team had put in a lot of work last month going through a lot of those pieces of mail and getting that information to the clerk team to update that information. So, I guess long answer short, it's just a lot of tedious work to get in there and try to change these things. So we're trying to do that best we can.
Oh, and I think you are doing it. I was just in my mind, just wanted to be clear what our next steps were. I know it's a difficult process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Barney. Any additional questions that we may be able to address? On that note, then, Ms. Vice Chair, that ends the update.
Again, please allow me on behalf of the entire Board of Assessors to thank the IT of Augusta and our staff, the Property Appraiser Office for making it possible for us to do our duty today. I'm reminding all of us, these are not normal times for any of us. However, I am confident in the highest professional delivery possible for this team. I am once again pleased to announce that the office is still managing themselves with social distancing and taking into account all safety measures on staying safe regarding COVID-19 for the public visiting the office as well as the staff itself. In closing, please join me in congratulating our new employee hire, Mr. Jonathan Clark, again, project analyst. Are there any other board members' comments or updates at this time? If there are no updates, any other matters, we'll have an announcement. Mr. Williams? Mr. Williams?
Is everyone, are we clear now, Madam Chair?
I can hear you now.
Well, this is not Mr. Mills, but I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Middleton.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
A second.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, have a blessed day.